All right, welcome to the NOVI Lifestyle Podcast. My name is Jesse, and I'm the host. Today we have AB Ere with us. So we're going to be talking about music and the entertainment industry. I know for the NOVI Lifestyle Podcast, we like to talk about different things when it comes to like simplifying life through movements and then inviting peace through art. So let's get straight into it. So AB. Right, AB Ere.
Yeah, AB, yeah.
So really quick, just do you want to talk about your name or just basically your origin story and how you're getting started with music?
Yeah. Origin story, man. I was born in Quito, Ecuador. Shout out Ecuador.
Nice.
I came here when I was 8. And as far as like the music origin story, man, it's in my blood. So like, my dad played the guitar. My brother plays self-taught, probably over 10 instruments. My grandpa played the guitar. So in the home, like there was always music, right? Yeah. So it was either like through my brother or my parents. And then I came here when I was 8. My dad passed when I was young, when I was 8. And so I was raised here by my mom and my sister. My brother and my other sister stayed back in Ecuador. But even then when we were here, like my mom would always play like folk music from Ecuador, like folklorica, right? Yeah. Or a lot of guitars and stuff. And so like, I was always listening to music. And so I think probably at like 10 or 11, I was like, maybe I could write a song. Cause I know my brother was a big inspiration for me. So he was always making music. He was in a group over there in Ecuador. So I was like, maybe I could write a song. And I wrote a song about a girl that I didn't even know. Yeah. So it was just like, it was like a love song that I just made up. Just to see if I could do it. Okay. And so again, this was like, I was probably 10 or 11. Yeah. And I wrote it and I was like, cool, I can do it. And so that was always like in the back of my mind. I always liked the arts. Like I like drawing and stuff. Yeah. Then in like middle school, high school, I did theater. Okay. So I always liked like being creative essentially. So whatever that may be. And probably around like 14 or 15, I started messing with like making beats. Okay. And so again, because I just wanted to see if I could do it. Yeah. I completely like, it was the weirdest way to make beats. I was like chopping up songs and being like, let me take the kick from this like Jay-Z song. Let me take this snare from like an Eminem song. Yeah. And I would just piece them together because I had no equipment really. Like, so it's again, self-taught. Right. And I just realized it was something that I enjoyed. In high school, I put out like a couple mixtapes. Yeah. And yeah, man, just music was always something that I was like interested in.
And that was pretty early, right? Because like in high school, I don't think people were making... Were people making their own beats? Or I mean,
nah, not really. Times have changed now. Like everything's more accessible. Right. Back then, not as much. And so again, I was finding like little programs here and there that I could download off of like Pirate Bay, I think is what it was called. So, you know, like, and so, yeah, not a lot of people were making beats. My mixtapes were all like, I was downloading like instrumentals. Okay. Yeah. From like LimeWire, you know what I mean? And so, and then I was recording in my closet. So again, just started like, 90% of rappers just seeing what we could do. And so I made music for a little bit, put out a couple mixtapes. And I mean, we can get into like more like personal stuff, but being an immigrant here, like I felt like I couldn't be a starving artist. Right. Right. So like I wanted to go to school, get a degree, like get a career, make sure that like my future, like at that time, obviously I wasn't married, didn't have kids, that my family was going to be taken care of. And so I always like kind of put music to the side to make sure I took care of like everyday things, right? Like my mom being a widow, like I wanted to make sure she was going to be taken care of and stuff. So I put all the music stuff aside and just focused on school. I always made beats, right? Still wrote. But even then for a while there, like it just like left my mind to continue to make music. I wasn't writing too much. Yeah. Until the last like year or so, it was something I always wanted to do was put out my own album. Okay. Where I produced all of it, wrote all of it, and I was like, I've always wanted to do that. Let me do that now, and so I did and got back to it. That whole process of creating an album is a completely different story, but I just felt like it was time that I could actually dedicate like mental space, like physical time, like because my family's taken care of. So let me go like pursue this dream of mine, and the dream isn't necessarily like let me go be like famous, right? But it's just. It's exactly this. Like part of why I got back into music was let me be around more creative people. Yeah. Yeah. Let me like just express myself. And I've been able to do that. I've met some other artists. I'm getting to produce for other artists now. So, that was kind of my mind space to get back into music.
Right. So So, I mean, that was a lot, but so whenever you said it, like from the beginning, I feel like you said you had in the beginning, whether that's, middle school, high school, you started off as an artist, right? So, and then you ventured off into different areas, whether that's music and other things. Yeah. But so when it comes to the process of making music, and I do want to get back into where you touched on where you had music and you had the love for music, but because you wanted to take care of your family and things like that, you left it alone. Yeah. But first of all, when it comes to music and the production of it, how is the process? How does that work for you?
Depends. I mean, on the song or the time, like the mind frame that I'm in. Most of the time, I'll create the beat first, right? Okay. So I'll sit down, and same thing. Like I have other responsibilities, right? I have kids, I have a job, so it's rare when I have the time. But when I do have the time, I'll sit down and say, let's see what I can come up with, right? And I've realized that as I'm making more beats more often, I make the best beats. Some of them might be trash. Like every producer out there, if you're not making trash beats, you're not producing enough. Because you have to, like,
I think that's it's a good point to point out. It's like business, or it's just anything. Like, it's better to just produce and make stuff and learn from that than waiting and working on one piece, trying to perfect it when you only get like 1 or 2 reps.
Exactly. And you got to make mistakes, right? Like to learn and figure it out. So anyway, just depending on where I'm at and like my music production, the little bit of time that I have to do it. I'll make a beat, and then I like to put a lot of feelings into my beats, like whether it's through like the melodies or the instrumentation. And so that usually drives what I'm going to talk about in a song, right? So 9 times out of 10, that's how I make music. So I'll make the beat, and then I'll just sit down and listen to it, see what kind of story I want to tell on the song. I just recently released my debut album called Pain Makes Good Music. Okay. And so I realized, and this was a concept again that I came up with like 10 years ago. Okay. Because I realized that like music to me was kind of an escape. Yeah. And a lot of times when I was going through hard times, I went to writing. Okay. And I realized that's when I make some of my best music. And so just depending on what mind frame I'm at, or just what I'm going through in life at that time, is when I start thinking, okay, what's the, like my purpose for the song? Like I like to make like happy songs and like, some party songs, some rock songs I just want to make so I can let people know that I'm a better rapper than them, Yeah. But a lot of my songs are just like they're stories. Okay. Especially this album. It's a 7 song album. There's some like slower songs, there's some upbeat songs, but they all tell a little bit of my story. And so I just kind of decided what that story is going to be, and then just start writing. And I've recorded songs that I'm probably never going to put out just because they weren't, the
I think everybody has those that, just...
Yeah. But for this one, like all 7 of the songs just felt right. And I wanted to put together like a body of work instead of just putting like 7 songs that have nothing to do with each other. I wanted to put together a body of work, and I think I was able to accomplish that and again, tell my story. So then I'll write. I actually have a little setup, like a studio at home. Yeah. So I can sit there and throw ideas, just record ideas, so that when it's time for me to go to the actual studio, where I found a great engineer, shout out Catra, I can already know exactly what I don't waste time in the studio. Yeah. I go in there, I know exactly what I want to record, and then we put it out, and he mixes and masters it for me, and I get it back, and then we decide, or I decide if I'm going to put it out or not. But it's kind of the process.
So for you, does it start, because you did say the music that whether that's produced or have, that itself tells a story, or does the writing tell that story, or is it both?
Both. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. One of the cool things that I've gotten a little taste of is working with other artists. Like they'll listen to the same beat and think something completely different. Okay. Right. So again, I think it's a combination of like the melodies and the sounds, but then also just how you interpret that. Right. Because essentially that's what art is, right? It's all an artist painting a vision. Yeah. And so it's the same thing with music. I think sometimes the music is very telling, like the beats are very telling of what kind of song it's going to be. Sometimes it's just like up to the imagination and just however you feel. So
do you start with the music, or do you start with like words?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So 9 times out of 10, it's the beat first. Okay. But the intro, actually out of the 7 songs on my album, I think there's 2 2, maybe 3 songs that I actually wrote the songs first. And that's actually harder for me because I'll have like a whole like verse written, but no like instrumentation, no beat to like finish the song to. But it was just things that I needed to get out like off my chest. And so, so I wrote the music first and then I created the beat after. And for the intro to the album, I think I made 3 or 4 beats that I didn't like for that intro until I got to the last one. And I actually had another producer come in and just listen to it and tell me how you feel. And then I finally got to that intro, which I loved that intro. But I went through like 2 or 3 different beats before I got to that final one. Same thing for another one of my songs. I went to like 1 or 2 beats and I kind of got frustrated because I couldn't make the beat to the lyrics until I just had, again, repetition, right? I had to keep going, and then I found it. But yeah, 9 times out of 10, it's usually the beat first, and then I'll write to it.
Nice. Did you already debut it, or is it?
Yeah, it came out in January.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's been a couple months. It was my first. Like I've released songs on like YouTube.
Right.
I think I had 1 or 2 on SoundCloud, but it's the first time I actually released it on like Apple Music, Spotify. Made like an actual video. I had a videographer, director from Argentina that flies here and does some work for some Houston artists. He recorded all the video for me.
Nice.
So it was, again, like part of the reason that for a long time I didn't put out music is because I wanted to do it the right way.
Yeah, gotcha.
And whether it was financially I wasn't there yet, or like, again, I wasn't in a mental space to do it.
Right.
It was timing.
I did want to touch on that a little bit because I think you took a route, right? You decided, hey, let me take care of myself. Let me take care of, whether that's family or others.
Yeah.
And I believe a lot of people have or are in that situation, whether, you're a starving artist. I mean, you can say, I think you can say that about any other, whether that's a dancer or any artist that, they love what they do.
Yeah.
But sometimes you just can't, you just can't provide for yourself because you have time. You need to take time for your art. And sometimes whenever you're starting, you can't profit off of that.
Yeah.
So what would you say to someone who is in that position, whether they're like, man, like I need to, should I go all the way 100% into my art, into my music, dance, whatever, or should I, focus on making money?
That's tough, man. That's tough because I've battled with that for years.
Yeah.
Because even like, when I wasn't making music, and again, there was a time, man, when I would make beats still.
Yeah.
And I would try to write and I couldn't write anymore. Like I just didn't have anything to say. So, but even then through that process, like I wondered, like, what if I actually gave it like a chance? You know what I mean? What if I actually put everything into my music? And so that's a hard question to answer, and I will go back a little bit, right? I said I didn't want to be a starving artist. I have so much respect for artists that do go all in.
Yeah.
That take that path and, it's a grind. Like I did theater in high school, and I have a couple friends that pursued acting, and it's been a grind, and it's been cool to see a couple of them get some, like, be in a show, like an actual like televised, produced, like famous actors like show.
Yeah.
And a good friend of mine that was actually in my rap group back in high school just is about to debut or debuted already on Broadway.
Nice.
So but I know that it was a grind for them. I'm not in touch with them as much as I was back in high school, but just seeing their like story. So I have nothing but respect for people that like choose to follow that path and just go all in. I think it's just depends on like your situation. Right. Again, like my dad passed when I was 8. And so I had to grow up quick. And I felt like I was the man of the house at 8. And so although I wanted to pursue like dreams and stuff, like I always came back to like, I got to make sure my mom is good. I got to make sure when I have kids, my kids are good. So you got to kind of follow your heart, man. You got to be realistic, I think. Yeah. Bills got to be paid. Yeah. And so kids got to be fed. Yep. And so I think, one of our greatest callings on earth is to be a father, for the people that choose to be a father or mother. So I think that should always be a priority. Like if your kids aren't eating, maybe go, maybe it's time to, put the art to the side. But I think nowadays, especially with music, it's so easy to make music at home where you can buy yourself a microphone, you can, get yourself a little interface and do it at home where like you can do both.
Yeah.
And so it just depends on the situation. Man, it'd be hard for me to give someone advice because my situation was my situation.
Exactly. No, I would say I would agree with you with that, because I would say I kind of had a similar situation where my dad passed away as well not too long ago, and so in that similar situation, like you just like you kind of like get a bucket of what do you call it? Like you have to responsibilities. You got a bucket of responsibilities just thrown at you, and you gotta you just gotta work with what you got.
Yeah.
So I agree. It depends a lot on the situation.
And again, like with us, like being Hispanic, right? Like the immigrant like story or like the immigrant path is so much different than other people, and so like again, I think like my mom came from a country she didn't know the language. We had no one else really.
Right.
For what? You know, like, so like I have to look back and be like, was her, she didn't get to see her oldest son and daughter for 20 something years. Yeah. So in my mind, it's like, how can I make all that hardship worth it?
Yeah.
And so for me, it was like, okay, let me get settled first.
Exactly.
And then once I get settled, then, you know, let's pursue the arts. And the arts were always there. They're always going to be there, whether it's, you know, I have 2 listeners or 2,000 or 2 million, whatever, like the music's always going to be there. So I think even like as immigrants or sons and daughters of immigrants, like our story is a little different, you know, there's a little bit more pressure. I feel like whether that pressure is good or not, like it just is what it is.
I think it makes it even much more worth it whenever you get to, you know, be at the point where you wanted to be, whether your dream was, you know, as a kid, you wanted to be a, you know, that artist, that singer, that rapper.
Yeah.
And then you took care of everything. And then at the end, you still managed to become to reach that goal. You know, it's even much more rewarding.
Yeah.
At the end.
And part of why I do it, right, is one, so that my kids can see that they could chase their dreams, but also set them up where I know they're going to be able to chase theirs when they get older. You know what I mean? So I don't want them to have the same worries that I did. You know what I mean? I want them to just be able to chase whatever those dreams are. You know, I'm going to be realistic with them. I'm going to tell them how it was for me or how it is for others. And then, you know, if they need whatever they want to do, they have the opportunity to do it because I was in a place financially where I could provide 100%. With or without music for them to be able to do that. So.
100%. Can you talk a little bit about what it is to be like an independent artist? Like, and I guess in contrast with maybe, I'm not 100% sure on like how all that works.
Yeah.
But like, would the on the contrast, would it be like someone who has a contract with?
Yeah, like a record label.
Okay.
Yeah, a record deal. Yeah, man, it's different. So again, we're in a time where music is a lot more accessible. Equipment is more accessible. You can upload your music to Apple Music, to Spotify with like a small fee.
Okay.
Excuse me. Where like back, 10 years ago, if you wanted to get your music to people, you had to invest in printing out 100 CDs, 1,000 CDs.
Yeah.
So like being an independent, and I did a little bit of that, right? I put out some mixtapes that I was burning on my like home computer.
Yeah.
When it's just with a marker, like putting the name.
Right. High school.
Yeah. And so, being an independent artist, man, you have to be a little bit of everything. Like you have to be a content creator, you have to be a marketer, you have to be a business person, you have to be a writer, you have to be a videographer. Like, so it's a lot in order to do it right. I think, again, there's some people that maybe just want to make music, share it, and that's it. Maybe for a month or two, they don't put out more music, and that's okay too, right? Whatever type of musician you want to be. I think if you want to be successful, and I'm not saying this because I've been super successful, like I'm just starting off, right? But in the little bit that I've learned, like you have to know how to do a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
And aside from that, it's all, you're investing in yourself. So the money's coming from you. Where when you sign a record label, they'll say, yeah, go to the studio, spend 10 hours there. Okay. We'll pay for the studio time. Yeah. We'll pay for the music video. We'll pay for you to travel. Obviously, they're going to take a cut.
Right.
And there's a lot of bad record deals signed because the record company ends up taking a huge percentage of that.
Right. I think that's why, at least me, I'm not like 100% into the music industry.
Oh.
I think either us or just other people have a negative connotation with, these industries, or because
grimy.
Yeah, because of that.
Yeah.
So would you say, is it better to be independent, or?
It depends, man. There's a couple of independent artists that are like have done a crazy good job at it. La Russell is one of them. If you've never heard of him, he's really good at it. And he said something that I thought was cool because he said, I'm not anti-record deals. I'm anti-bad record deals.
Yeah.
And so a lot of young artists, they'll like a company, a record label will come and say, hey, we're going to pay you $1 million. Sign with us.
Yeah.
You come from the hood, man, you have no money. Like that's $1 million, right? So you're going to take it, you're going to sign the paper, and you're going to go. Mm-hmm. But what that $1 million is it's an advance, right?
Yeah.
So they got to make that money back somehow. And then again, because you signed that paper, they might own all your masters. So they own all your music. They might now need to get a cut of all your concerts. They might get a cut of all your merch sold. And so it just depends like what you sign. But the issue is a lot of young artists, they don't read their contracts. Or they just see the $1 million or the 500,000 or whatever it is. They're like, cool, yeah, let me sign that. That means I get free studio time. Yeah, let me do that. But everything, all the money those record labels are putting into an artist, they want back. They're a business, right? So, and so there's that side of it. If you sign the right record deal, I think it's okay because what it is you don't have to be the content creator. You don't have to be the marketer. Right. You can just be an artist. And so I think there's good sides to both. Obviously, I think ownership of your music is super important. Yep. I want to be able to own all my music because it's my music. It's my art. You know what I mean? So being an independent artist, you can do that. If you get big enough and you have enough leverage, you can still sign record deals, but still own a good percentage of your music. But it's all, again, situational. Like it depends on what situation you're in or whatnot. Some of the biggest artists right now are to sign record deals. You know what I mean? Like, and so it's being an independent artist is a long, lonely road at times because you have to do it all. And so, just imagine like being a business owner and putting in money into the business and you get nothing back for years. Yeah. And so a lot of business owners would close, if that was the case. But being an independent artist, it's all your money, it's all your time. And so it's a grind for sure, but it pays off for a lot of independent artists. Something that, again, the engineer that I work with, Katra, told me once, he's like, man, you don't have to be famous to live off music.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, like you can, as long as you have, 1,000 people that actually like roll with you, ride with you.
Yeah.
That's okay. Like that's good enough because they'll buy your CD when it comes out. They'll buy a shirt when you put a shirt up. Yeah. Exactly. And so, you might be able to get a couple hundred people into a club so that they can listen to you perform. And so, I think it's good that it's easier to put out your music. The issue is everyone can put out music. Right. And so it's a little saturated, right? Like, I think the quality of music, unfortunately, isn't where it would have been, years ago because, it was just harder to get your foot in the door. Now, literally, you can, again, in your closet, put out a song, record a song, put out a song a week later, and you get to go. So, as far as your question of, independent versus like signing, it just depends, man. It depends what kind of deal you sign and what kind of path you want to take. Yeah. I'm like, again, there's some of the biggest artists in the world signed a record deal.
Yeah. No, I do agree because it is similar to business. I think it's okay if you do that. Whether you're the content creator, you film yourself, you do all of that because so like even for me, like I've learned a lot when it comes to making content. Yeah. When it comes to like being a dancer, like being able to sometimes because I know how I want people to record me and my dancers. Yeah. I know how to record others. Right. So I'm not a professional videographer, but I feel like if it ever came to that point, I have the mind and the idea of how to record somebody and make it look good because I know how I want to make it look good for me.
Yeah, and that's the same thing with me. I like to have control over it, right? I want to, like the edits of a video and stuff like that. So, yeah, there's a balance on how you do that. Not everybody likes that stuff, though, right? Yeah, exactly. I've always liked it. Like, I've always liked making videos, editing videos. I taught myself how to do that on, like, Windows Movie Maker. You know what I mean?
You kind of have to.
Or, like, I was making art on Paint, you know what I mean? But I've always liked that stuff. Not everybody likes it.
Exactly. So, just to end it, or just to the last part, so, again, you start off with, in your teenage years or as a young adult, going through the arts and loving the arts and performing on all that. Yep. And then, you had to take care of your family and then now you're back, right? So I think a lot of people, even they might even have that desire to start, but they never do. Yeah. So they end up starting a little bit later in life.
Yeah.
I come across a lot of people like that in all the arts, whether that's, drawing, dancing, making music. And I have a lot of people that I really like I don't know who your producer or that person was, is that you don't have to have you don't have to be that huge person. You don't have to be that character, Bad Bunny or whoever, have thousands of fans to make a living out of your art.
Right.
So basically what I just want to say is I encourage all of those who have that desire to perform or to show their art, to show whatever it is that they have inside of them, and put it out there, no matter what age you're at.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. There's one of my favorite movies ever is Hustle and Flow.
Yeah.
And then the producer, the white guy, he has a quote where he's like, everyone deserves to spit a verse or to write a verse or something. I've lived by that, man. Anybody that wants to rap, yeah. Write a verse. Anybody that wants to dance, go dance.
Yeah.
Because I think for me, again, part of making music has been an escape from, hard times or just a way to express myself. So I think everybody needs to find a passion in life, whatever. That could be cooking, that could be making TikToks, that could be taking pictures, whatever your passion is. Find your passion and just do it, regardless of the results, regardless of what anybody else says. Just be you. You know what I mean? That was a process for me to get to that point, because for a while I was like, I'm not going to put out this song because I don't know if it's good enough. I don't know if people are going to like it.
Yeah.
Now I'm just I'm doing it because it's my song. Right. Whether people like it or not, it is what it is. But
yeah,
it's so important to just find that passion and just do
it. Well, I mean, you might even see me on a verse.
Yeah. Come through.
Yeah. Well, again, AB, I appreciate your time and all your words. It was really inspiring, especially for those of us that are, either resonate with your situation, your story.
Yeah.
So, do you want to just really quickly, just say what your handle is or what your upcoming projects are?
Yeah, for sure. Real quick, man, I wanted to give you your flowers because I think it's cool, everything that you're doing. You have your hand on a bunch of different cookie jars, and I think that's cool to just be able to express yourself and do enough to find what that passion is. So it's inspiring. I talked to you I remember you met a year ago, and I was like, hey man, it's cool that you're doing all that. That's inspiring. That helped inspire me to hey, there's other artists out there that maybe I can collab with. So thank you for sharing that and for doing all that. Yeah, my handle on Instagram is a.b_twinwar_music. I just released my debut album, Pain Makes Good Music. It's on all streaming platforms. You can search it on Apple Music or on Spotify or wherever. Just type in a.b, last name Ere, or here, Here.
Yeah.
And you can find it there. So, yeah.
Cool. Well, again, thank you.
Appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me.
Of course.